Welcome to the After the Show Movie Podcast, brought to you by your hosts, Ascully and Cidtalk. We're addicted to movies. Are you? Welcome, Cidtalk, to our wonderful podcast.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm good. This is not my first rodeo.
It isn't. It's not your second either.
Or prodeo? Podcast rodeo?
It's not your prodeo.
Or rodcast? It's not my first rodcast.
Rodcast. That sounds rude in some way.
That's like fishing. Casting your rod, see?
I've got a filthy mind, I guess.
You do.
All right, so what is the before the after the show discussion before we get on?
There wasn't much. We came up, you made tea, you went over there, you did some audio. We commented on the genetics of Kurt Russell's son.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Kurt Russell's son has genetics that were given to him by his mother and father.
Correct.
And that's what we were discussing.
That's a big, deep, dark conversation. Yep, that was it.
All right, so let's get on with the podcast. It is Saturday, April the 6th. This is After the Show 833. And we look at a new movie every week because we are a movie review podcast. And this week we're looking at the movie Night Swim. It's a 2024 movie out now on Blu-ray and streaming services, rated PG-13, and it's from Blumhouse and Universal Pictures, who sent us a copy for review. Cidtalk, give us the synopsis of the movie Night Swim.
A haunted pool terrorizes a family.
A haunted pool,
and it's also about ego and the idea of sacrifice and stuff.
Can I give you the one off the back of the cover?
Is it not as good as that, I bet?
I don't reckon it is. And this is actually a cover because we do have the disc version. Here we go. It says, the producers of Megan high dive into the deep end of horror with a supernatural thriller, Night Swim. That's not it.
Oh.
There's more.
Okay.
Wyatt Russell, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, is that his second name? Third name? Stars as a former Major League Baseball player forced into early retirement by a degenerative illness, who moves into a new home with his wife, Oscar nominee Kerry Condon, and her 2 children. The new home comes complete with a backyard swimming pool, but a deep secret surfaces and unleashes a malevolent force that will drag the family into the inescapable depths of terror.
That's long.
It's long. I felt like I'd read an essay.
That's very long, and it's hard to describe this except exactly the way I did. A haunted pool terrorizes a family.
That's what it is.
But is it haunted? Because we don't ever know. So we're just going to dive in, and I'm going to say, I don't know how much I liked or disliked this movie. I'm on the fence a little bit. How about you?
You know, like when the pool cover is over the pool. The pool cover's over, and I'm sat at the side just like going, huh? That's what's happening with me. Well, I'll tell you this. I kind of liked it. It was disposable horror movie.
Disposable is a very good description.
It felt like a number of Blumhouse. This one didn't commit to anything. Like, it could have been really gruesome or it could have been really scary, but it was nothing. It was none of those things.
And it could have had a very interesting origin story, but it didn't. It didn't have that.
Because it's a PG-13, it didn't ever go as far as it could. And it did nothing for me in that way, because I was never scared of it. Aren't you supposed to be scared of it?
I think that's the idea of a horror movie, yeah.
Yeah, so when you're not scared of it, the only scary thing is they do the sound mix, so when something scary happens, it's very loud compared to everything else.
True.
But that's cheap, right?
I mean, yeah.
As far as scary goes, it just doesn't work in that way. It's just like a mediocre horror movie. Like, I feel like I've seen hundreds of movies like this where they don't really do anything to me. I'm looking for, to be scared or to have an interesting story, where this kind of peaked. The story seemed interesting, but then when it kind of went into its reveals, I was like, it's just nothing.
It was literally nothing. I mean, we're going to spoil it and tell them what it is, because then if you keep on listening, that's
let's start from
your
the beginning.
choice.
You give a description.
You mean of the whole plot?
Yeah, but synopsisized.
Okay. As the box says, the dad was a baseball player and now he has MS, which is a degenerative disease. And so he's not well and he's trying to recover. And so they're moving into a house for him to get better, but not get better. He's just going to get worse, right? We know that's established.
Yes.
We start by looking at this house they look at in the past, 1990 something. A little girl sees some weird shit in this pool and then she's gone. She disappears. Then they're buying this house with the pool. Shocker, right? It's a big surprise. This is the creepy house they're moving into. While you're saying to them, no, don't move into the house. So then the first glimpse of anything weird is that he cuts his hand in the pool and something starts happening to him. He starts getting better, right? And then blah, 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 go forward. The kids see weird shit in the pool at night and at daytime. So I don't know why it's called night swim.
Do you think it should be called night/day swim?
No, I don't know what it should be called. I don't know. But over time, everyone else sees that this pool has something evil or negative going on. And the dad, because now he's getting better and he keeps fantasizing about playing baseball again. And that's really all he's ever feel like he's accomplished, was that he was a professional baseball player. He's getting stronger.
Yes.
And then as we reveal in a very unsatisfying way that the water from this pool is from a natural spring and eons have passed and the water somehow has to take a life every 17, 18 years in order for it to then give somebody what they want.
Now, out of interest, do you remember a movie with Maggie Q in it?
See how we just breezed over that? Like, that could be an interesting thing, and it wasn't.
Yeah. Do you remember a movie with Maggie Q in it that we watched? I kept thinking of that movie during this one. And it was some kind of generic horror movie as well, where there was a house and some cornfield outside.
Wasn't it a orchard with her daughter? And
something from under the ground was taking it took somebody.
I don't think it was under the ground.
Well, whatever that was kept reminding me of this. And that was pretty generic as well, right? And not scary and yeah.
Right. They give you certain moments of like, oh, God, because anything about drowning in a pool freaks you out because you don't like pools, right?
No.
So that's something that you can just innately feel threatened by.
Yes.
But the idea that this water is just going to take somebody and in the process give somebody else what they want, it's really, it's
like an old folklore type deal thing.
And I think it is. You said it was based on a
Japanese folklore.
Right. And I am at the stage of my life, in my late 50s. I've passed 55, 56, where I like mystery. I like weirdness. But if you're telling me a story, I want something else. Giving me a flashback to, I don't know, thousands of years ago where the water is bubbling in its natural state before any houses ever were there. And then having a lady say, your love is sacrifice. The lady. Okay, so we'll go back to the beginning. There was the lady who had the daughter disappear into the pool in 1990 something. Well, the whole thing of her deal was she had a sick son.
Yeah.
And sacrificing the daughter to the water to make her son well. And now he's a successful ambassador and he built this fancy house for her. She says that's love. Love is sacrifice. And I love this line from the other lady in the movie. And it's actually my advice for the day. We'll get to that later. That is not sacrifice.
Right.
You didn't sacrifice
not
anything.
Not if you get something back.
Right. You're paying the troll under the bridge, right? So that whole notion of how some people are just compelled to let something horrible happen. So something nice, wonderful that's very satisfying to them personally. And that's what I dislike about this dad. So we'll get on to that when we get to his character, I guess. But yeah, the whole thing is I want an explanation for what this water is. I want an explanation of any kind. Not just that there's this malevolent, evil, bubbling water in the world and it has some sort of magic that can, I don't know. It's very unsatisfying. That's the best word I can come up with.
It was definitely, as the credits rolled, I was looking at the credits, listening to the generic music that was playing, and I was thinking, that was deeply unsatisfying. And even if you gave me an explanation, I don't think I care anymore.
Oh, okay.
Even if you explained everything, I don't. And it's not like it's unexplained. Well,
it's totally unexplained. It's just that it was water.
Yeah.
It needs to take a life.
Yeah.
In order to lure people in to take a life, it gives someone else the illusion of giving them what they want. In this case, in her case, it made her son well somehow. In this baseball player guy, it's healing his body. And in order for him to heal his body, he has to sacrifice one of his children.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not compelling at all because there's nothing else to it. It doesn't even feel challenging to the father because ultimately this father has got a degenerative disease. And so his glory days of baseball are over. That's all he thinks about. He surrounds himself with his little tokens of the past. He watches videos of himself from the past.
Yep.
Whenever the neighborhood dudes are interested because he's a baseball legend or whatever, or he's not really a legend, he was a third baseman or whatever. That's all he cares about. And now that's being taken away because of his disease. His family isn't enough for him.
No.
So ultimately, in the end, if somehow he's going to have to sacrifice his life to this water, I'm just giving you a spoiler alert. It's like you nod your head and go, well, he wasn't going to be the same man anyway, right? He's got a disease and the poor guy, he can't even just be the character who overcomes all of that and decides to just love his family and adjust to the changes in his life.
No, he's just mopey.
He's mopey, and then it's like, oh, I'm sacrificing myself so you all can live, but actually I'm better off, so it's actually about me anyway. I just feel like that's the loop that I was on the whole time.
Yeah, you were on that loop.
Because I'm seeing that as I saw that coming. Like the dad was going to, heroically offer his own life, because, well, what's the point in me being alive? I can't be a baseball guy anymore anyway.
Yeah.
So that's not exactly like the mother was willing to dive down in, and I'm not saying this is a mother versus father situation. It's just that this character is so selfish. I just was like hung up on that a lot of the time.
I just realized I read an article earlier that said Stephen King says that you should watch this movie even though it's got terrible reviews. Ignore the critics and listen to Stephen King. And then I was thinking, why is he thinking that? Well, there was one moment in the movie where I was like, oh, this is like It, where he was looking in the vent hole. And then there's like somebody on the other side of the vent hole saying, hey, come here, come here. Yeah, so that's basically it.
That's not why he's saying it. He's just saying like, actually tickles his own sensibilities, which makes total sense.
He said it's one of the greatest horror movies, even though people are all saying it sucks.
I want to know what is great about it.
I didn't notice what was great. I mean, it's filmed okay.
Yep, looks fine.
It's got some nice sound effects.
It's neutral.
The acting's pretty one note. Everybody's very one note and very...
I think the mom does a great job because she's actually a convincing mom to me.
I was kind of excited in the middle of the movie because it was a slow build. And then all of a sudden, somebody said, why don't we have a pool party? And I was like, yes, massacre in the pool.
Yes.
Actual, bloodthirsty, Evil Dead, everything goes off. It goes to
have a pool party in the pool that we've already established is
It's a
evil.
demon pool, right? Yeah. So this is going to be awesome. It's going to go crazy.
I said, oh, yeah, let's kill everyone in the pool.
Yeah, and I was thinking, well, maybe something will happen. We're having a pool party. It's going to be cool. What happened?
The dad went under the water and kind of almost hurt another kid, but nothing.
And then that was it.
That was it.
There was no bloodthirstiness. There was nothing. A guy assaulted a kid, basically.
Well, he goes under the water goes inside of him, so now it's fully consuming him, and it's making him, in that moment, whatever's in this water, this malevolent whatever spirit, says, oh, you've got a stranger's kid on your shoulder, let's kill that kid, and then everything will be fine.
Well, let's not kill the kid because we're PG-13. That will be your sacrifice.
Right. Right.
Exactly.
The malevolent creature, lets go of that at that point, because it was too soon in the movie, right? So
yeah.
Fair enough.
After that, I was like, okay, I know this movie is not going to commit to anything. We're not going to see gore. We're not going to see anything excessively violent. It'll just be one of these mediocre. And it was right through to the end. There was some people throwing up black stuff, but even that was like the least. You didn't really see it a lot.
Nope. It was uninteresting.
They kind of went, and then they cut away from it. So it was like, okay, I'm done now. And that was that. It says everything you fear is under the surface on the poster.
No.
It's all out there. It's, it's a horror movie. It might make like teenagers jump in the theater. I don't know.
I think don't underestimate how intelligent teenagers are. I think that if you're the person who's like, no matter how old you are, you're going to do that a few times, and then you're going to get tired of it because there's quite a few of those.
Yeah. So I would say it's probably going to make teenagers reach for their cell phones and look at something else.
Why are you picking on teenagers?
Because it's PG-13.
Right, but also...
So they're aiming for that teenage audience.
There's also a lot of adults who will be reaching for their cell phone.
I'm picking on teenagers. Leave me to it.
You are for no reason. That's not reasonable.
All right, let's get on to the cast. Wyatt Russell plays Ray Waller. You didn't like the character.
I didn't like the character, but I like him.
But you do like him, yeah.
I can accept
that. And I like him too, but this is not his movie.
Correct.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, why'd you choose this?
Yeah.
Well, Blumhouse.
Money.
Well, Blumhouse can come with a bit of cachet these days, can't it?
Well, yeah, the poster says, from James Wan, producer of The Nun, and Blumhouse, producers of Megan. So,
Exactly.
We got Kerry Condon as Eve Waller. I've loved her since I saw her in Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad. She's awesome. Correct. What do you think of her here? You like her here,
Yeah,
right?
I did like her in this. I feel like she's a convincing mom who's sort of she's worn down by the life that they led, which was moving around a lot every time he got traded from one team to another, and then he gets sick, and she's caring for everyone. But it's not like martyr mom, you know what I mean? It's not like,
no,
for me, it's just, and she's good with how she is with the kid characters. Like, I'm convinced she's their mother.
Maybe she is. Maybe that was the trick.
Maybe. But yeah, I like her anyway, and she's subtle about things. Even when she's kind of figuring some things out, and when she goes to see that lady who used to live in the house, and she's terrified, but I just liked her.
We've got the kids played by Amelie Hoffery and Gavin Warren, and we've got a young boy and a teenage girl.
Yeah, I think they both did a good job.
They did, but again, there was no stakes. Oh, like we didn't kill anybody.
Well, we did.
We did at the end. But what I mean is there was no stakes. Maybe that's why. If you kill somebody right at the very end, there's been nothing up to that point. Maybe that's where you take away some of the suspense. We said it yesterday. We were watching some shitty horror movie on Shudder Channel or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the beginning of the movie started up, and it was a girl in a car, and she's lounging around in a car, and then we're like, oh, she's going to get killed. This is the beginning of a horror movie. And then her boyfriend turns up and says, like, okay, let's carry on with our journey now. And they just drive off, and then the title came up. And we were like, well, that's not the way to start a horror movie. You need to kill somebody, right?
Or show the threat, or hint at the threat, not just use movie tropes and tools to make me afraid that there's a threat.
Right.
Yeah.
And this movie does have an opening of consequence of some kind. It feels like something's going to happen.
Yeah, because we see the girl disappear.
Right, but then after that, it doesn't ever capitalize on it. It's just, oh, that was probably the most intense part you're going to see.
That's true.
Yeah, so they blew the wad, basically. Directed by Bryce McGuire, this movie was originally a 4-minute short. Now, maybe that is very effective, right? The 4-minute short version. Because that would be basically the opening sequence of this movie. I don't think it's the kind of thing that doesn't need to be a feature film. The 4-minute shot.
I don't know if that's a fair statement. I think that if someone had added some substance to this malevolence, anything other than a moral tale about how a dad needs to sacrifice himself for his children, right? That's what we're boiling this all down to, which we already know. We don't need.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like the most superficial story you could tell. I want a reason that all of this is happening, and in an uncharacteristic way, I want a hint that filling in the pool with dirt, which is what she does in the end, another spoiler, isn't going to solve anything. It's just water from the earth. It doesn't give a shit where it comes out. The pool was just the most convenient hole, right?
Right.
It's like so, It's actually stupid.
In
And
fact,
I don't say that very often.
I have a better ending for the film.
Okay.
She fills in the pool with dirt.
Aye.
They say, we're going to keep the house. It's not going to beat us. We're going to be fine.
Well, we have to remind everyone, the dad just disappears into the pool in the end. And then they're not
basically
even
kills himself.
They're not even, well, no, we don't even see him. He's not dead. He's just gone.
He went through the pool hole.
The pool portal. Yeah.
Yeah.
We get nothing else. That's it. He's just gone down there in the dark water.
So my ending is he goes into the pool hole. They fill it in with dirt. They go into the house. It's another day. One of them turns on the tap to brush the teeth, and black water comes out of the tap.
Okay.
And in fact, isn't that better? 100% better than what this ending is. This ending is they find a tape that Dad has made, like a baseball. He's been videoing himself.
Yeah, and he says, I sure wish I had some other way to show you how I love you.
Yeah, and you know what the way would be to show you? The black shit coming out of the taps. It's Dad coming out of the taps.
Oh.
He loves you.
The way to show you love them is to not give up your whole life just because you can't play baseball anymore.
I like my gross ending. Dad comes out of the taps and you're brushing your teeth with him.
Oh,
I think you missed that part.
I didn't miss it. I don't think that's 100% better than the ending that we got.
I think it at least make you think of, oh, that was gross. Something.
Yes.
IMDB reviews, what are those?
Those are reviews on a little site called IMDB, which is the Internet Movie Database. And that's where you find reviews of people who don't love the movie that we've just watched.
Guy number 1 says, it's a real shame that between the opening and the hook reveal, Night Swim fails to entice or unnerve with far too much empty scares. And it's not as if it's the worst idea ever because the short film was kind of good. This movie sucks.
Oh my.
Second guy says, you got to be kidding. I know what happened here. An executive got a new pool, turned to his friend and said, bro, what if this pool was haunted and we could film it here cheaply?
I mean, that's
possible.
Sounds totally plausible.
All I can say is I hope everyone got paid well. I'd be very embarrassed to have this on my resume. Even Wyatt Russell seems to be struggling to seem interested. I'm not going to disagree with that one. And the third one says, the dumbest and worst horror film in cinematic history.
Oh my.
This is one of the dumbest and worst horror films ever made. Lame jump scares. Particularly the father and son with their unconvincing performances. Poor execution and lame characters. This film is a prime example of a film being marketed as horror, and then it's so dull that children can go and see them and not even be scared. The film was simple, silly, and dull. That's it.
Simple, not silly, because I wouldn't give it that much credit.
Right. Simple, silly, and dull.
Don't know if it's silly. I just feel like it's absent.
Yeah, those are what the people on IMDb think. Extras, there are a couple on the disc. You can see Masters of Fear, Demons from the Depths, and Into the Deep. There's just some, small making of things. I noticed that Jason Blum was on there talking, a talking head. Let's give this movie some scores, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give Night Swim a 4 out of 10.
Oh, 4. That's digging the bottom of the barrel.
I think it's less than average. Because I feel nothing.
Oh.
I feel nothing.
I feel nothing. I feel empty.
I am empty and cold, like the pool at the end.
I don't disagree with you. I was going to go 5, but I think you're right. It's not average as in average. It's below that. So I'm going with you.
All right. Thank you to Universal. Next week, we're going to look at the movie Lisa Frankenstein, the Diablo Cody movie. She wrote it anyway.
Okay.
Movie recommendations. I am going, do you remember the movie Deep Water?
I do.
There's a movie that made water creepy. That one actually was creepy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give you that one. And I'm going to give you a movie that stars Wyatt Russell called Overlord, which is basically a Nazi zombie film.
Mm.
And it was very, very cool. And I would watch that one again 3 times instead of this one.
And I'm going to go back to the 20th century, which is 1900 to 1999, and give you some movies that are on my list of movies I've seen. This is not a testimonial of quality. It's just movies in the action/adventure department. 1 million years BC.
Racco Welsh?
Yes. Barbie. Not
Raquel
Raquel Welch. No. Thelma and Louise.
Raquel Welch.
Night Monster. That one was creepy, if I remember correctly.
I've never heard of it.
And House of Horrors, which probably was.
It sounds like the most generic movie ever, right?
It does.
House of Horrors.
That's it.
Ascully stuff. I've been playing some more Balatro. Balatro. Is that right?
I don't know. I've never seen you spell it.
Balatro. I don't even know what it means. Is it something to do with poker? Is it the name of a poker game? I don't know. Balatro. When I bought it on Steam a few weeks ago, I thought, well, it's probably like, I'll play it for a bit and then stop. Well, I haven't stopped yet because there's so much to it strategy-wise. If you keep playing it, it keeps unlocking all these different Joker cards. And randomly every game, you get to choose some of these Joker cards and they can multiply your scores up. I started off getting like scores in the hundreds. And yesterday playing a game, now I understand it thoroughly, I had like 20 million at the end of one of my rounds. So it's like, you can dig into it. There's a whole strategy. You've got to really think about everything you're doing to maximize your score every hand. And I really like that because it makes me want to just keep doing it over and over. It's kind of like how you like doing solitaire games.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't get old. You just keep doing them, right?
Correct.
It's the same with this. I can see me playing this years later just going, I'm going to have another hand of that and try and do better.
You mean like nonstop?
Not nonstop, but just once in a while, every now and then. So Balatro, it's on Steam. It's very, very cool. It's a poker hand roguelike game. Cidtalk, what's for dinner?
We're going to go for the Jersey Mikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael.
Jersey Michael.
And what's your advice? And let's get out of here.
My advice is what I said earlier, is that, and I liked it from the movie, so I'm stealing it, but I'm old enough to have heard people's sob stories my whole life. And when people say they sacrifice this and that, throwing that around as if it's, like, oh, I didn't read this book because I had to take the kids to practice, I sacrificed things. No, that's not a sacrifice, right? You chose to feel good about taking your kids to a ball game instead of feeling good about reading a book. You get something out of either one of those situations. Real sacrifice, I will not define it here, but it's not that. And so if you're getting something from what you're quote unquote sacrificing, you're not sacrificing, you're trading, right? You're making a deal,
right,
with anybody in for whatever it is. Even if it's you, in your mind, you're sacrificing your happiness to make other people happy. Well, what does that do? That gives you the sense of accomplishment for knowing that you made them happy. So you're getting something. You're giving, yes, and getting. And that's going to be controversial and people are going to hate it. But I just feel like there has to be more of a line where we say, because I love that the mother in the movie, even it's the mother who says to the other mother, that's not sacrifice. Like you didn't sacrifice your daughter for your son. You used your daughter as currency so that your son could be healthy. Because the mother's like, that's what real love is. No, it isn't. So that's not advice. It's just that I'm picking out that from the movie. That was a good thing from the movie.
Yeah, that's the thing that stood out to you.
That's so funny. I'm in this chair, just as a side note, and I start out pumping. My chair doesn't work anymore. It's got like the hydraulic thing in it. So I started with it at the highest, I put the microphone exactly where it needed to be. And as I'm going down.
So like during the podcast, what it would be is you really nice and solid and loud. And then by the end, you sound like you're in another room.
No, I'm going down. So I'm more in front.
Oh, you're more in front. So you get better towards the end.
Yeah. But it's like, and my knees are getting more bent. And I don't want to buy a chair. So I'm just a tight ass. I'm not going to spend the money.
Did you know you can just buy that cylinder and we can replace it?
I'm fine. I could just, when we're done, I'll pump it up again. I'll be 4 inches higher for a while, and then I'll slowly go down.
It sounds inconvenient to me.
It's not that big a deal. It's not a big sacrifice. Here's the deal. I'm giving up my own comfort temporarily to keep a hold of some of my money. So you see,
I get it.
It's a win-win.
All right. Thank you, Cidtalk, for your advice. Ascully.com is the place you can go to get this podcast. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'm Ascully, she's Cidtalk. You can go to Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music, YouTube. Plenty of places to get this podcast. You can email feedback to me, ascully@ascully.com. Do not email Cidtalk. She doesn't. And I repeat,
She doesn't.
She doesn't want your feedback.
She doesn't want your hullabaloo.
Because, I mean, why would she? And I want to say, stay classy, Blumhouse Pictures, but up it a little bit. I'd rather have Megan, something like Megan, than the swim fan or Night Swim.
I'm going to say think for yourself, because if you're not doing it, someone's doing it for you.